You do not need more motivation. You need a reset. Right now, your mind is overloaded, distracted, fragmented, pulled in 1,000 directions by noise, stimulation, and endless interruption. And every day you delay resetting your mind, you weaken your ability to focus, to act, and to control your own life. This audiobook will teach you how to start over. Not once, but every single day. You will learn how to eliminate distraction without relying on willpower, how to install daily systems that restore clarity automatically, how to train your mind to focus deeply, calmly, and consistently. Because starting over is not an event, it is a system. And once you learn the system, you become unstoppable. Chapter 1. Accept that your mind has been hijacked. You cannot reclaim control of your mind until you accept this simple truth. Your mind has been trained to be distracted, not by accident, not by genetics, not by fate, by exposure, by repetition, by design. Every day, you expose your mind to interruption, notifications, messages, endless streams of information. Your brain adapts to this environment. It learns to switch. It learns to react. It learns to expect disruption. And what the brain learns, it continues. This is not a personal failure. This is conditioning. But you have a choice. You can continue reinforcing distraction, or you can begin retraining focus. That's the key. You must stop seeing distraction as normal. You must start seeing it as conditioning that can be reversed. Because a distracted mind is not a weak mind. It is an untrained mind. Understand this clearly. Your phone is not neutral. Your environment is not neutral. Every notification is a demand for your attention. Every interruption trains your brain to abandon its current task and seek novelty. And every time you obey, you reinforce the habit of abandoning focus. Your brain is always learning. The question is not whether your brain is learning. The question is what it is learning. Right now, for most people, the brain is learning fragmentation. It is learning that nothing deserves sustained attention. It is learning that focus is temporary. It is learning that reaction is the default state. This is why you struggle to concentrate. Not because you are incapable, because you have been trained to switch. Each time you check your phone while working, you weaken your ability to stay with one task. Each time you interrupt yourself, you reinforce instability. This is a rule. Attention strengthens with continuity. Attention weakens with interruption. You cannot train focus while practicing distraction. You have a choice. You can continue practicing distraction, or you can begin practicing focus. But first, you must accept reality. Your current mental state is not your natural state. It is your trained state. Clarity is your default. Distraction is the distortion. You were not born needing constant stimulation. You were not born needing constant input. Your brain was not designed to live in fragments. Your brain was designed to sustain attention, to observe, to think deeply, to act deliberately. But design is only potential. Training determines reality. And most people have trained their brains to be weak. Not intentionally, but consistently. They reach for their phone without thinking. They switch tasks without thinking. They fill silence without thinking. They have normalized distraction. This is the danger. What you normalize, you stop questioning. What you stop questioning, you stop changing. And what you stop changing, you accept as permanent. But it is not permanent. That's the key. Your brain remains adaptable. Your brain remains trainable. Your brain responds to what you repeat. If you repeat distraction, you become distracted. If you repeat focus, you become focused. This is not motivational language. This is neurological reality. Your brain reflects your behaviors. Nothing more, nothing less. You don't need their permission to retrain your mind. You don't need permission from your environment. You don't need permission from your past habits. You only need new repetition. But before repetition changes, awareness must change. You must see distraction clearly. You must see the cost. A distracted mind produces inconsistent action. This is unavoidable. When your attention is unstable, your effort becomes unstable. When your effort becomes unstable, your results become unstable. You start tasks without finishing them. You make plans without executing them. You move without direction. And over time, this creates a pattern of incomplete effort, a pattern of weak execution, a pattern of frustration. This is not a character flaw. It is a training flaw. It's not about intelligence. It's about discipline. A disciplined mind stays. An undisciplined mind switches. A disciplined mind completes. An undisciplined mind abandons. A disciplined mind directs attention. An undisciplined mind reacts to interruption. And this distinction determines everything. Your results do not come from your intentions. Your results come from your mental condition. If your mind is fragmented, your results will be fragmented. If your mind is stable, your results will be stable. When you reset your mind, you reset your life. This is not philosophical. This is practical. The quality of your attention determines the quality of your actions. The quality of your actions determines the quality of your outcomes. Everything begins at the level of attention. That is why starting over begins with accepting responsibility for your mental state. Not blaming yourself, but claiming authority. You are not a victim of distraction. You are a participant in distraction. That means you can become a participant in focus. You have a choice. You can continue surrendering your attention, or you can begin reclaiming it. But reclamation begins with a decision, a clear decision, a non-negotiable decision. From this moment forward, you stop pretending distraction is harmless. You see it for what it is, a training force. Every distraction trains weakness. Every moment of sustained focus trains strength. This is the rule. And once you see this rule, your perspective changes. You stop acting unconsciously. You start acting deliberately. You stop surrendering attention automatically. You start directing attention intentionally. This is where starting over begins. Not with dramatic action, but with clear recognition. Recognition that your mind reflects your training. Recognition that your training can change. Recognition that you're not stuck. A distracted mind is not a weak mind. It is an untrained mind. And untrained means trainable. This should give you confidence, not comfort, confidence. Because training requires discipline. It requires structure. It requires repetition. It requires removing what weakens you and reinforcing what strengthens you. This is not optional. If you do nothing, distraction will continue training your mind. If you act deliberately, discipline will retrain your mind. You have a choice: passive conditioning or deliberate conditioning, reaction or control, fragmentation or clarity. But before discipline comes reset. Before focus comes silence. Before control comes stillness. Because you cannot retrain a mind that is constantly reacting. You must first interrupt the pattern of endless stimulation. You must create space. You must create silence. That is where retraining begins. In the next chapter, you will learn why silence is not empty. It is corrective. It is stabilizing. It is the reset your mind has been waiting for. Chapter 2. Use silence to reset your mental baseline. You cannot build focus on top of noise. You cannot stabilize your attention while constantly stimulating it. If Chapter 1 was about awareness, this chapter is about correction. Silence is the correction. Silence is the reset button for your brain. Understand what constant stimulation does to you. Every notification triggers alertness. Every scroll triggers novelty. Every sound pulls your attention outward. Your nervous system adapts to this pattern. It becomes reactive. It anticipates interruption. It expects input. Over time, your baseline state shifts. Instead of calm and directed, you become alert and scattered. Instead of deliberate, you become responsive. Instead of choosing, you react. This is not intensity. This is instability. A reactive nervous system cannot sustain deep focus. It is always waiting for the next signal. That is the damage of constant stimulation. Now understand the solution. Silence removes the signal. When a signal disappears, the nervous system recalibrates. Heart rate stabilizes. Breathing slows. Cognitive noise reduces. You begin returning to baseline. This is not mystical. It is mechanical. The brain cannot remain in high alert mode without continuous input. Remove the input, and the system begins to settle. But here's the problem. Most people avoid silence. Not because silence is harmful, because silence is revealing. When the noise stops, you meet your own mind. And many people discover that their thoughts are restless. Their impulses are loud. Their focus is weak. Silence exposes the lack of control. So they escape back into stimulation. You have a choice. You can use noise to avoid yourself, or you can use silence to rebuild yourself. That's the key. Silence is not punishment. It is training. But training requires discomfort. When you remove constant stimulation, your brain begins to detox. It has been conditioned to expect frequent dopamine spikes. Novelty, input, movement. When those spikes disappear, you will feel agitation, restlessness, boredom, an urge to check something. Do not misinterpret this. This is not weakness. This is recovery. Your brain is recalibrating to a lower level of stimulation. It is relearning how to exist without constant reward. Silence is not empty. Silence is repair. Repeat that until you believe it. Silence is not empty. Silence is repair. The discomfort you feel in silence is the same discomfort a muscle feels when retrained after neglect. It burns because it is rebuilding. If you quit during discomfort, you reinforce weakness. If you stay, you build capacity. It's not about comfort. It's about discipline. Here is the rule. Daily silence is mandatory, not optional, not when convenient. Mandatory. You will schedule it. You will protect it. You will execute it. Start with a fixed duration. 10 minutes. No phone. No music. No input. Sit upright. Breathe normally. Eyes open or closed. It does not matter. What matters is non-stimulation. During this time, you do nothing. You do not optimize. You do not plan. You do not consume. You sit. When your mind wanders, you notice. When you feel the urge to reach for stimulation, you remain still. You're not trying to suppress thought. You are training non-reaction. That is the system. Stimulus removed. Reaction observed. No response given. Over time, something changes. The agitation decreases. The urgency weakens. The nervous system stabilizes faster. This is measurable in your experience. You feel calmer. You feel less rushed. You feel less compelled to check, scroll, and switch. Silence is not empty. Silence is repair. And repair creates strength. Now understand the deeper layer. Silence does more than calm your nervous system. It rebuilds your internal authority. Right now, if your phone vibrates, you respond. If a message appears, you look. If a thought demands stimulation, you obey. That is external control. You're being directed by signals. When you sit in silence and refuse to react, you reverse the hierarchy. The signal appears. You do not move. The urge arises. You do not obey. A thought demands action. You remain still. In that moment, you shift from being controlled to being in control. You stop reacting and start directing. That is authority. Authority over your impulses. Authority over your attention. Authority over your time. You don't need their permission to sit in silence. You do not need the world's approval to disconnect for 10 minutes. You do not need validation for protecting your mind. Silence is self-command. Each time you complete a silence session, you send a message to your brain. I decide. That message rewires identity. You begin seeing yourself not as someone who reacts, but as someone who directs. And identity shapes behavior automatically. This is why silence must be daily. One session will calm you temporarily. Daily sessions will recondition you permanently. You have a choice. You can begin each day in reaction, or you can begin each day in command. The disciplined path is clear. Wake up. No phone. No input. Silence first. Reset your baseline before the world attempts to set it for you. Because if you do not define your mental state in the morning, the environment will define it for you. And once your baseline is reactive, the rest of your day follows that pattern. Silence first, then action. Never reverse the order. It's not about productivity. It's about stability. A stable mind sustains focus. An unstable mind seeks interruption. Silence builds stability, and stability makes deep work possible. This is where starting over truly begins. Not with ambition, not with a new goal, but with a quiet room and a disciplined decision. You sit, you stay, you do not react, and in that stillness, your baseline resets. In the next chapter, you will learn why silence alone is not enough. You must build systems that make clarity automatic, because calm without structure fades. And we are not here to calm you temporarily. We are here to re-engineer you permanently. Chapter 3. Stop relying on motivation and install systems instead. Motivation is not reliable. It rises. It falls. It disappears without warning. If you rely on motivation, you are relying on something you do not control. And anything you do not control will eventually fail you. This is where most people lose authority over their lives. They wait until they feel ready. They wait until they feel energized. They wait until they feel clear. But readiness is not a prerequisite for action. Readiness is a result of action. You have a choice. You can wait for motivation, or you can build systems. That's the key. Motivation is emotional. Systems are structural. Motivation depends on how you feel. Systems depend on what you do. Feelings fluctuate. Structure remains. If your focus depends on motivation, your focus will always be unstable. If your focus depends on systems, your focus becomes predictable. Repeat this until it becomes part of you. You do not rise to motivation. You fall to systems. On your best days, motivation may carry you forward. On your worst days, only systems will carry you through. And your worst days determine your future. Anyone can act when they feel strong. Discipline is revealed when you act without feeling strong. This is why systems matter. A system removes negotiation. A system removes the question, should I do this? The answer is already decided. The system says, this is what happens now. No debate, no delay. For example, without a system, you wake up and decide whether to check your phone. With a system, the decision is already made. You wake up. You sit in silence. No phone. No input. The system acts. You follow. This is how authority is built. Not through effort. Through elimination of choice. You don't need their permission to install systems in your life. You do not need external approval to create structure. Structure is self-imposed authority. Now understand the deeper principle. Your brain does not trust your intentions. Your brain trusts your repetitions. You can intend to focus. You can intend to change. You can intend to improve. But intention without repetition creates nothing. Your brain measures what you do, not what you promise. Every repeated action strengthens neural pathways. This is not metaphor. This is physical change. Neurons that fire together, wire together. When you repeat distraction, you strengthen distraction pathways. When you repeat focus, you strengthen focus pathways. The brain becomes efficient at what you repeat most. If you repeat instability, instability becomes automatic. If you repeat stability, stability becomes automatic. This is why sporadic effort fails. Sporadic effort sends mixed signals. One day you focus. The next day you drift. The next day you try again. The brain cannot stabilize under inconsistent instruction. Consistency creates clarity. Consistency creates efficiency. Consistency creates identity. It's not about intensity. It's about repetition. A small action repeated daily is more powerful than a large action repeated occasionally, because repetition trains the nervous system. Daily silence trains calm. Daily focus trains endurance. Daily resets train recovery. This is how neurological stability is built, not through force, through frequency. You do not rise to motivation. You fall to systems. This must become your operating principle. Now understand the long-term effect. A person without systems drifts constantly. They improve temporarily, then regress. They gain clarity, then lose it. They move forward, then fall back. Their progress is fragile because it depends on conditions. But the person with systems stabilizes. They do not drift far. They do not collapse completely, because every day the system resets them. Every day they return a baseline. Every day they correct. This is the difference between temporary improvement and permanent transformation. The person who resets daily never drifts far from clarity. The person who waits for motivation never stabilizes. You have a choice. You can live in cycles of progress and collapse, or you can live in stability. Stability is created through daily resets, not dramatic resets, not occasional resets, daily resets, small, controlled, non-negotiable. Here is the system. You wake up, silence first. You begin work, single task only. You feel distraction. You pause. You reset. You finish work. You disconnect intentionally. Each reset reinforces authority. Each reset reduces drift. Each reset strengthens identity. Systems remove friction. Without systems, every action requires effort. You must convince yourself. You must negotiate. You must overcome resistance. This consumes energy. With systems, action becomes automatic. There is no negotiation. There is no debate. The behavior executes. This conserves energy, and conserved energy increases consistency. This is how disciplined people operate, not through constant struggle, through structured automation. It's not about forcing yourself. It's about designing your environment and routines so force is unnecessary. You become someone who executes by default, not because it is easy, because it is defined. This is the goal: to make focus your default state, to make resets your automatic response, to make discipline your baseline. You don't need motivation for what is automatic. You don't need emotion for what is structural. You only need execution. You have a choice. Continue living by emotion, or begin living by system. Emotion creates inconsistency. Systems create stability, and stability creates control. But systems require support. They require an environment that does not constantly undermine them, because even the strongest system will fail in a chaotic environment. In the next chapter, you will learn how to eliminate environmental interference, because discipline alone is not enough. Your environment must align with your authority, and you must take control of what surrounds you. Chapter 4. Eliminate mental noise by controlling your environment. Your environment is not neutral. It is training you. Every sound, every object, every notification, every visible distraction is shaping your behavior automatically. You may believe you are in control, but your environment is influencing you more than you realize. This is not a matter of opinion. This is a matter of exposure. Exposure creates familiarity. Familiarity creates behavior. If your environment is chaotic, your mind will reflect chaos. If your environment is controlled, your mind will reflect control. This is the rule. A noisy environment produces a noisy mind. A controlled environment produces a controlled mind. You cannot live in chaos and expect clarity. You cannot surround yourself with interruption and expect sustained focus. You cannot expose yourself to constant stimulation and expect internal silence. You have a choice. You can continue adapting to a weak environment, or you can build an environment that supports strength. That's the key. Stop expecting discipline to overcome environmental sabotage. Instead, remove the sabotage. Most people rely entirely on internal discipline. They try to resist distractions that remain constantly present. This is inefficient. It is like trying to remain calm while standing in the middle of a storm. Strength is not proven by resisting chaos. Strength is proven by eliminating chaos. This is system design. You don't need their permission to change your environment. You do not need approval to silence notifications. You do not need validation to remove distractions. You are responsible for what you allow into your space. And what you allow will shape what you become. Now understand the mechanism. Every notification is not just a sound. It is a neurological trigger. It shifts your attention. It interrupts your mental continuity. It forces your brain to reorient. Even if you do not respond, the damage is done. The interruption has already weakened your focus. This is why even small distractions matter. Focus is not just about starting. It is about staying. Every interruption forces your brain to restart. Restarting consumes energy. Repeated restarts create fatigue. Fatigue creates avoidance. Avoidance creates inconsistency. This is how environments destroy discipline. Not through dramatic interference. Through constant small fractures. Notifications. Background noise. Visual clutter. Open tabs. Constant accessibility. Each one weakens your stability. Each one trains your brain to expect interruption. Each one reinforces distraction as the norm. This is why removal is more powerful than addition. Repeat this until it becomes instinct. What you remove is more important than what you add. Most people try to improve focus by adding tools. New planners, new apps, new techniques. But they never remove the source of fragmentation. So nothing changes. You do not build focus by adding more. You build focus by subtracting what weakens it. This is the discipline of elimination. Remove unnecessary notifications. Not some, most. Remove visual clutter from your workspace. Not gradually, immediately. Remove easy access to distraction during work periods. Make distraction inconvenient. Make focus convenient. Environment design is behavior design. If distraction is easy, you will become distracted. If focus is easy, you will become focused. You have a choice. Design your environment for weakness or design it for strength. Now understand the value of attention. Attention is your most valuable resource. Not time, not energy. Attention, because attention determines how your time is used. Two people can have the same amount of time. One progresses, one stagnates. The difference is attention. Scattered attention produces scattered results. Directed attention produces meaningful progress. Every time your attention is stolen, your future is delayed. This is not dramatic language. This is practical reality. Progress requires sustained effort. Sustained effort requires sustained attention. Distraction breaks that chain. Each distraction may seem small, but the accumulation is devastating. Minutes become hours. Hours become days. Days become years. Lost not through intention, but through interruption. You must protect your attention aggressively, not casually, aggressively, because no one else will protect it for you. The world benefits from your distraction. It profits from your attention. It competes for your focus constantly. If you do not defend your attention, you will lose it. This is why starting over requires environmental control. You're not just resetting your habits. You are resetting your exposure. You are deciding what enters your mental space. You are deciding what influences your nervous system. You are deciding what trains your brain. This is authority. External control creates internal stability. Internal stability creates consistent execution. Consistent execution creates transformation. It's not about willpower. It's about design. A well-designed environment removes temptation. A poorly designed environment multiplies temptation. You do not need to prove your strength by resisting distraction. You prove your strength by removing it. This conserves energy, and conserved energy strengthens discipline. Here is the rule. Your environment must reflect your intention. If your intention is focus, your environment must support focus. If your environment contradicts your intention, your environment will win. Environment always wins over intention. Unless you change it, you have a choice. Continue adapting to distraction, or eliminate it. Continue surrendering attention, or protect it. Continue drifting, or take control. This is not extreme. This is necessary, because clarity is fragile. Focus is fragile, and if you do not protect fragile things, they disappear. You are building a disciplined mind, and disciplined minds require disciplined environments. But environment alone is not enough. You must install a final layer, a daily ritual that guarantees reset, a ritual that restores clarity regardless of circumstance. In the next chapter, you will learn how to build the daily reset ritual, the ritual that makes starting over automatic, the ritual that ensures you never drift far from control again. Chapter 5. Build the daily reset ritual that makes focus automatic. Starting over is not something you do once. It is something you do every day. Your mind is not static. It is constantly shaped by exposure. Every conversation, every interruption, every piece of input leaves residue. This residue accumulates. It accumulates as mental noise. It accumulates as tension. It accumulates as distraction. If you do not remove it, it builds. And what builds eventually controls you. This is why resetting is not optional. It is maintenance. Just as the body requires sleep, the mind requires reset. Without reset, clarity degrades. Without reset, focus weakens. Without reset, discipline collapses. You have a choice. Reset daily or drift daily. There is no neutral state. Repeat that until you understand it completely. Reset daily or drift daily. Drift does not announce itself. It happens gradually, quietly, without warning. One day of neglect becomes 2. 2 becomes 5. 5 becomes permanent instability. You begin reacting more. You begin delaying more. You begin avoiding more. Not because you chose weakness, because you stopped resetting strength. This is why starting over must become ritualized, not dependent on circumstances, not dependent on emotion. Ritual removes variability. Ritual removes negotiation. Ritual makes reset automatic. This is the system. You wake up. You reset. You do not ask whether you need it. You execute it because it is defined. Silence first. No input. No reaction. You stabilize your baseline before engaging the world. This is how you prevent drift. Not by correcting after collapse, by preventing collapse from forming. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. A small daily reset is more powerful than a large occasional reset because repetition trains speed of recovery. This is the next principle. Your ritual trains your brain to return to clarity faster. At first, Distraction may last hours. You lose focus in the morning and recover late in the day. But with daily resets, recovery accelerates. Distraction lasts less time. Instability weakens faster. Clarity returns sooner. This is neurological efficiency. Your brain learns the path back to stability. It becomes familiar with reset. It trusts reset. Eventually, reset becomes automatic. This is when transformation occurs. Not when you never lose focus, but when you regain focus quickly. The undisciplined mind falls and stays down. The disciplined mind falls and recovers immediately. This is the difference. Not perfection. Recovery speed. You have a choice. Remain someone who drifts for hours, or become someone who corrects in minutes. That's the key. Your ritual builds familiarity with clarity, and familiarity makes clarity easier to access. At first, focus requires effort. Later, focus requires less effort. Eventually, focus becomes default. This is how identity changes. Not through intention, through repetition. You become someone who resets automatically. Someone who notices distraction immediately. Someone who corrects without hesitation. This is mental authority. You don't need their permission to reset your mind. You do not need external validation to protect your clarity. Your ritual is your commitment to yourself. It is non-negotiable. Now understand the long-term outcome. The disciplined mind recovers faster than the undisciplined mind. This is the ultimate advantage. Distraction becomes temporary. It no longer defines your day. It no longer defines your identity. It becomes a moment you correct, a moment you neutralize, a moment you move beyond. This prevents spirals. Most people spiral because they do not interrupt distraction early. They lose focus, then they lose control, then they lose the entire day. But the disciplined mind interrupts immediately. The moment instability appears, the ritual activates. Pause, silence, reset, return. This is the sequence. Pause, silence, reset, return. Repeat it daily. Repeat it until it becomes automatic. Repeat it until it becomes identity. Reset daily or drift daily. This ritual makes you self-correcting. You no longer depend on perfect conditions. You no longer depend on motivation. You no longer depend on external structure. You become your own structure. This is independence. This is control. This is starting over as a system. Not once, daily. And understand this clearly. The person who resets daily never stays lost. They may drift briefly, but they return. They always return. Because the path back to clarity is trained. And what is trained becomes reliable. Now you know the system. You know the truth. Focus is not something you wait for. It is something you restore. Clarity is not something you hope for. It is something you practice. Discipline is not something you feel. It is something you repeat. You have a choice. Continue living in reaction, or begin living in reset. If you're serious about rebuilding your mind, then commit fully. Make the reset ritual non-negotiable. Protect your attention. Protect your silence. Protect your clarity. And if you're committed to this path of discipline, focus, and mental authority, then subscribe to this channel. Not for entertainment, for training. Because every lesson here is designed to help you reclaim control of your mind. And once you control your mind, you control your life. Reset daily. No exceptions.